Long have you been standing there, Benjamin? Mercy's voice was soft. Too soft. Benjamin swallowed hard. Mercy, what are you doing? Why are you smiling like that? She kept stirring slowly. Dinner, my love. Or did you think I didn't know? I don't know what you're talking about. Oh, you know exactly what I'm talking about, Mercy cut in, her smile widening. Late nights, secret calls, perfume that isn't mine. Benjamin stepped back, fear creeping into his eyes. Mercy, please, calm down. Calm, she laughed quietly. I've never been calmer. What did you put in that pot? He asked, voice shaking. Mercy leaned closer, her eyes locking onto his. Something you'll never forget. Benjamin's heart pounded. Mercy, don't do this. She whispered. Too late. You won't believe what happens next. Don't forget to like, share, and comment, and subscribe for more shocking stories. Now let's get into the story. Mercy hummed softly in the kitchen, the spoon in her hand moving rhythmically in the pot of stew. Steam curled around her face, catching the morning light that filtered through the half-open curtains. Her smile was gentle, almost serene, but there was something in it, a quiet intensity that seemed to say she knew more than she let on. Mercy, a deep voice called from the living room, slicing through her calm like a blade. She didn't look up immediately, stirring the pot as if nothing mattered. Mercy. Benjamin's voice grew sharper, more urgent. Finally, she turned, letting her smile linger just a little longer than usual before meeting his gaze. Yes? Her voice was soft, but there was steel under the honeyed tone. Benjamin stepped into the kitchen, his dark eyes darting around nervously. Why are you smiling? He asked, his voice trembling, not with fear, but with that strange mix of guilt and impatience. I'm smiling because I'm happy, Mercy replied lightly, still stirring. Isn't that what you want to see? Benjamin's jaw tightened. He closed the distance between them in 2 long strides. You know what I mean, Mercy. I saw your messages. Mercy paused, spoon midair, and tilted her head ever so slightly. Oh? Which messages are those? The ones to your sister or the ones to someone else? Her smile widened, but it didn't reach her eyes, which burned with an unmistakable fire. Benjamin swallowed hard, his hands trembling slightly as he ran them through his hair. It's not what you think. I can explain. Mercy set the spoon down with a soft clink against the pot. The smile faded, replaced by an expression of mock patience. You always have an explanation, Benjamin. I wonder if you even know the meaning of honesty anymore. The room fell into a tense silence. Mercy's smile returned, faint but knowing, as if she had been expecting this confrontation all along. Sit, she said, gesturing toward the small breakfast table by the window. Benjamin obeyed, sinking into the chair as if every ounce of his confidence had left him. Mercy moved with the calm assurance of someone who had already won. She ladled a bit of stew into a bowl, placed it before him, and said, Eat. We need energy for the discussion ahead. Benjamin looked at the bowl, then back at her, bewildered. Discussion? Yes, she replied, her voice laced with gentle menace. You see, Benjamin, betrayal isn't a one-way street, and right now, I'm just getting started. The morning sun climbed higher, casting long shadows across the kitchen floor, as Mercy began to weave a story of her own making, a story designed to make Benjamin squirm. She told him about her day, the errands she'd run, the people she'd met, and the coincidental encounters that seemed innocent on the surface but carried a subtle sting, a reminder that she was always watching, always aware. Benjamin's attempts at protest became increasingly frantic. Mercy, you're overreacting. I didn't do anything. Mercy leaned against the counter, stirring again, and chuckled softly. Overreacting? Benjamin, my dear husband, some might say that's your specialty. He blinked, confusion etched on his face. What are you talking about? Let's start with the little lies, shall we? She said, her smile returning once more. The ones about late nights at work, the meetings that conveniently don't exist, and the dinners you claim are with clients. Benjamin's face drained of color. Mercy cut him off with a soft laugh that was almost melodic, though there was an unmistakable edge to it. No, you don't get to explain yet. First, you listen. Then, maybe I'll decide if forgiveness is on the menu. But right now, I'm just stirring, smiling, watching, waiting. The conversation escalated as Mercy revealed details only someone who had been observing for weeks could know. She told him about the misplaced receipts, the unfamiliar perfume scent in the car, and the late-night text notifications he thought she wouldn't notice. With every revelation, Benjamin's composure faltered, replaced by mounting panic. I didn't. Mercy, you can't prove anything, he said desperately. Oh, I can, she replied, tilting her head, her eyes gleaming. And I will. Every word, every glance, every tiny betrayal, it all matters. Benjamin sank further into the chair, running his hands over his face. Mercy, please, I love you. You have to believe me. Mercy laughed, a soft, chilling laugh. Love? She whispered. Is that what you call it? We'll see, Benjamin. We'll see. The scene ended with Mercy stirring the pot once more, smiling faintly, while Benjamin sat frozen, guilt and fear battling for dominance in his mind. Outside, the morning sunlight glinted off the kitchen window, hinting at the storm that was about to engulf their lives. The day stretched on with a deceptive calm. Benjamin lingered in the kitchen long after breakfast, staring at the empty bowl in front of him. He tried to speak again, but Mercy's presence was suffocating, a quiet power that made him hesitant to move, hesitant to breathe. Mercy hummed as she washed the dishes, her movements fluid, rhythmic, as if each stroke of the sponge was a drum beat marking Benjamin's impending reckoning. You know, she said, her voice light, almost casual. I always wondered what it would feel like to truly catch someone in the act, to watch them squirm under their own guilt. Benjamin's eyes widened. Mercy, you don't mean... I do, she interrupted smoothly, drying her hands and turning to face him. But don't worry, I'm not crude. I'll make it entertaining. Benjamin swallowed. He felt the words stick in his throat. Entertaining? Yes, she said, tilting her head, a faint smirk tugging at the corner of her lips. Because life is too short to be angry all the time. Betrayal is, well, let's just say it's more enjoyable when you add a little theater. Benjamin ran a hand over his hair again, desperate to regain some semblance of control. Mercy, I'm sorry. I swear I didn't, whatever you think I didn't mean it. Mercy walked toward him slowly, deliberately, her heels clicking softly against the polished wooden floor. She stopped a few feet away, arms crossed, and smiled faintly. You see, Benjamin, she said softly, words are cheap. Actions, that's what matters. And your actions, well, they've spoken loud enough for the both of us to hear. Benjamin tried to meet her gaze but faltered. Her eyes were sharp, observant, unyielding. He realized with a sinking heart that Mercy had been plotting long before this morning. Every little detail he thought he had hidden was known to her. Mercy leaned slightly, resting a hand on the counter. Do you remember last week when you told me you had a meeting with a client? The one that started at 8 and ended at midnight? Benjamin flinched. Stop, Mercy said with a quiet command. I don't want excuses. I just want honesty. And you can see how difficult that is for you, can't you? Benjamin nodded mutely, feeling smaller than he had in years. That afternoon, Mercy decided to escalate her plan. She called her closest friend, Lila, a woman as mischievous as she was loyal, and explained the situation. So you're telling me he actually thought he could get away with it? Lila said, incredulous. Benjamin is hopeless. Mercy smiled faintly, stirring her tea slowly. That's the point. He is hopeless, but the fun is watching him realize it. Lila laughed. You're going to toy with him? Mercy leaned back, tilting her head. Not exactly. Let's call it subtle lessons in humility. By the time I'm done, he'll be begging for forgiveness, and maybe even begging to deserve it. Benjamin, meanwhile, paced the living room, unaware that every move he made was being tracked. He checked his phone nervously, avoiding Mercy's calm, calculating gaze whenever he could. He realized too late that his attempts at charm and justification had failed. Mercy was untouchable in her composure, a predator in a domestic setting. That evening, Mercy suggested they have dinner together. She prepared a simple meal, but every detail was meticulous. The placement of cutlery, the lighting, the music playing softly in the background. It was ordinary yet deliberate. Every element a subtle reminder that she was in complete control. Benjamin sat across from her, wringing his hands under the table. Mercy, please, I'll do anything to make this right. Anything. Mercy stirred her soup slowly, smiling faintly, as if she were savoring the moment as much as the meal. Anything, she echoed, letting the word hang in the air. Benjamin nodded frantically. Yes! Anything. Good, she said softly, finally locking eyes with him. Then you can start by being honest. Every little thing you've done, tell me now. No hiding, no excuses. Just the truth. Benjamin's voice faltered as he began to recount every lie, every little betrayal, every stolen moment he thought had gone unnoticed. Mercy listened patiently, stirring her soup in a rhythm that seemed almost musical, almost mocking. When he finished, she set the spoon down and leaned forward. "You see, Benjamin, honesty is a start, but actions speak louder, and tomorrow will begin the next lesson." Benjamin exhaled shakily. "Lesson?" Mercy's smile returned, faint, enigmatic. "Yes, lesson. Life doesn't forgive easily, Benjamin, and neither do I." By the time dessert was served, Benjamin felt like a man unraveling. He stared at the plate of chocolate mousse in front of him, but all he could think about was the subtle way Mercy had made him feel powerless, exposed, and utterly vulnerable. Mercy took a bite, humming softly. "You know," she said casually, "I've always liked stirring things slowly. It's an art, really. You see, the longer it takes, the more flavorful the result." Benjamin looked up, eyes wide as he realized the truth in her words and the long, painful path that awaited him. Mercy was smiling, and she was just getting started. The morning sunlight spilled through the tall windows, casting golden streaks across the polished wooden floors of the living room. Benjamin sat stiffly on the sofa, staring at the floor, replaying the events of the previous day over and over in his mind. He had spent the night tossing and turning, haunted not by guilt alone, but by the unmistakable, unnerving calm of his wife. Mercy. And he remembered her words from yesterday evening, repeated like a sentence drilled into his head. "Life doesn't forgive easily, Benjamin, and neither do I." Benjamin tried to convince himself she was bluffing, that somehow, somewhere, there was room for negotiation, for forgiveness. But deep down, he knew the truth. Mercy wasn't bluffing. She was a storm, and he had been foolish enough to let himself be caught in her orbit. Mercy appeared in the doorway, holding a tray with 2 mugs of steaming coffee. She moved gracefully, almost gliding, yet every step had weight, purpose, as if she knew Benjamin's panic radiated toward her like electricity. "Good morning," she said softly, placing a mug in front of him. Her smile was faint, serene, almost angelic, but there was a glint of mischief lurking beneath. Benjamin forced a smile. "Morning." Mercy settled into the armchair across from him. "Sleep well?" she asked, stirring her own cup lazily. Benjamin shook his head. "Not really." "Of course not," she interrupted gently. "I can only imagine the torment that guilt brings. But that's the thing about mistakes, Benjamin. Sometimes they need to simmer a little before the lesson truly lands." Benjamin's heart thumped. The word lesson was like a warning bell, sharp and deliberate. "Mercy, please, I'll do anything. I swear, anything to make this right." She sipped her coffee, humming softly, eyes narrowing slightly. "Anything, you say? Interesting. I wonder how far you're willing to go." Benjamin leaned forward, desperate. "Yes, I'll do whatever you ask. Name it, and I'll do it." Mercy tilted her head, considering him carefully. "Very well," she said slowly, her voice silky. "First, you must understand, trust is like a fine dish. It cannot be rushed, it cannot be faked. And when it is spoiled..." She paused, letting the words sink in. "The taste lingers long after the mistake is made." Benjamin swallowed hard, nodding mutely, unsure if he was agreeing or pleading. Later that morning, Mercy decided to introduce Benjamin to the first of her subtle lessons. She suggested they visit the market together. A seemingly ordinary errand, but one carefully orchestrated. As they walked through the crowded streets, Mercy carried herself with casual elegance, drawing occasional admiring glances from strangers. Benjamin's anxiety grew with each step, aware that the world itself seemed to watch him fail under his wife's knowing eyes. "See that woman over there?" Mercy asked softly, nodding toward a vendor arranging fruit. "Notice how she watches everyone who passes by? That's what life does, Benjamin. It observes, and those who betray, well, they never escape unnoticed." Benjamin's stomach churned. "Mercy, please. It's just a market. People don't care about us." "Ah, but they do," she said, smiling faintly. "They always care. And when the truth is revealed..." She let the sentence hang in the air, like a knife poised to fall. By the time they returned home, Benjamin was drained, jittery, and increasingly desperate. Every glance, every whisper, every smile from Mercy seemed calculated to remind him of his transgressions. Back in the kitchen, Mercy began to stir a pot of soup, humming a quiet, almost playful tune. Benjamin leaned against the counter, watching her every move. "Mercy, you're enjoying this," he said finally, his voice a mixture of fear and accusation. Enjoying what? She asked innocently, stirring in wide, deliberate circles. Cooking? Life? Watching you squirm? Benjamin's eyes widened. Watching me? You're punishing me, aren't you? Mercy's lips curved into a faint, enigmatic smile. Punishment? She echoed. No, I prefer to call it education, a very thorough education. And education, you see, takes time. Benjamin slumped, feeling the weight of his guilt pressing down on him like a leaden blanket. Mercy, please, I can change. I promise I'll change. Her eyes softened slightly, but the smile never left her lips. Change, Benjamin, is more than words. It's action. And actions, well, they reveal who we truly are. That night, Mercy introduced the second part of her lesson, public exposure. She invited Benjamin to a small dinner with friends at their home, ostensibly a casual evening, but she had carefully prepared subtle ways to reveal his betrayals. As guests arrived, Mercy moved among them effortlessly, her demeanor polished and radiant. Benjamin, however, could feel the tension building. She had a way of slipping in remarks, sly observations that made his face heat and his stomach churn. So, Benjamin, Mercy said casually, addressing a friend while keeping him in her peripheral vision, I was just telling Lila how some people have such busy schedules, meetings that start at 8 in the evening, for instance. Benjamin froze, choking on his drink. The friend laughed awkwardly, unsure of whether to join in. Mercy glanced at him, her smile faint, almost imperceptible. Isn't it funny how life catches up with people who forget their promises? She added, stirring her soup slowly, eyes on Benjamin. By the end of the evening, Benjamin was exhausted, humiliated, not by outright shame, but by the subtle, surgical precision of Mercy's methods. She had not raised her voice, had not yelled or accused, yet every word, every gesture reminded him of his guilt, his betrayal, and the growing chasm between them. The following week, Mercy began introducing playful yet emotionally cutting tactics. She would forget to mention events Benjamin was supposed to attend, let him scramble to make excuses or tease him gently about his mistakes in private, so he felt the sting but could not escape it. One afternoon, she stirred her tea slowly and said, almost to herself, the best part about stirring is knowing the flavor will develop whether the cook is ready or not. Benjamin, sitting across from her, nodded mutely, understanding perfectly that he was the dish, and Mercy was in complete control of the recipe. The air in the house was thick with tension, a tangible weight pressing down on Benjamin as he moved through the rooms like a man navigating a maze filled with invisible traps. He had learned one crucial lesson over the past few days. Mercy was never idle. She watched, she waited, she calculated, and, most importantly, she struck in ways he could not anticipate. That morning, he found her in the kitchen again, standing at the counter with a pot of stew simmering gently, the spoon moving in slow, deliberate circles. Her smile was faint, serene, almost angelic, but Benjamin knew better. Her calm was the calm of a storm before it breaks. Benjamin, she said softly without looking up, come here. He hesitated at the threshold, feeling the weight of the last week pressed down on him like a physical force. Yes? Mercy? She gestured to the small stool near the counter. Sit, we have things to discuss. Benjamin sank onto the stool, his fingers fidgeting nervously. Mercy leaned against the counter, stirring the stew in wide, hypnotic circles, humming softly under her breath. You know, she began, her voice light, almost teasing, I've been thinking. Some people handle betrayal poorly. They panic, they make excuses, they beg. Others, they don't even notice the taste of their own mistakes until it's too late. Benjamin swallowed hard. I don't want to be the first kind, Mercy. I swear I'll do better. I'll change. Mercy's eyes sparkled, but her smile didn't waver. Change, it's not about promises, Benjamin. It's about proof, actions, and some lessons must be experienced, not explained. Benjamin's stomach churned. Lessons, he whispered. How many more? How long will this go on? Mercy chuckled softly. As long as it takes. Stirring slowly, savoring the process. That's how the best results are achieved. That afternoon, Mercy decided it was time for Benjamin to experience another subtle humiliation, a social one, but calculated so that only he would feel the sting fully. She invited a few friends over for tea, close acquaintances, ordinary people, but people whose admiration Benjamin had always craved. The plan was simple yet ruthless. Mercy began discussing everyday topics, slipping in little observations that Benjamin could not explain away. So Benjamin, she said casually to one of the friends, I heard someone was running late for an important lunch and then conveniently stuck in traffic. Was that true? Benjamin's heart pounded. He opened his mouth to answer, but realized there was no believable excuse. The friend raised an eyebrow, looking between the two of them. Benjamin's face burned with silent embarrassment. Mercy continued, stirring her tea slowly, humming softly. I always wonder how some people think they can hide things. Life has a way of catching up. Don't you agree? Benjamin nodded mutely, his pride crumbling bit by bit with every word. After the guests had left, Benjamin retreated to the living room, trying to regain composure. Mercy followed, carrying the small pot of stew, setting it on the coffee table with a delicate clink. You see, Benjamin, she said, leaning casually against the sofa, humiliation isn't always public. Some of the most powerful lessons are private, subtle, lingering, ever-present. Benjamin rubbed his face, feeling trapped. Mercy, please, I'll do anything. Anything. Just tell me what to do. Mercy tilted her head, the light catching her dark eyes in a way that made them seem almost predatory. Anything? That's interesting. Very well. Starting tomorrow, I'll need you to assist me with something. Very important. Something that will test your patience, your honesty, and your attention to detail. Benjamin's pulse quickened. I'll do it, I swear, whatever it is. Mercy smiled faintly, stirring her spoon slowly. Good, but remember, actions speak louder than words. The next day, Mercy introduced her first true task for Benjamin, helping her prepare for a local charity event. On the surface, it seemed innocuous, even admirable, a chance to participate in something meaningful. But Mercy had designed it carefully so that every misstep Benjamin made would be magnified. From arranging chairs to managing the catering, every minor error became an opportunity for subtle embarrassment. Mercy would correct him with a faint, almost teasing tone, never raising her voice, but always making sure he felt the weight of his incompetence. Benjamin, darling, she said, adjusting a chair he had placed slightly crooked. Perfection isn't about speed. It's about attention. Perhaps you need to slow down, observe, notice the details. Benjamin nodded frantically, feeling both foolish and humiliated. Every gesture Mercy made, every word she spoke, seemed designed to remind him of his shortcomings and of his betrayal. Even as he worked, she watched him with a calm, serene smile, stirring her own tea, humming softly, as if she were orchestrating a symphony where he was the instrument. By the end of the day, Benjamin was exhausted, mentally and emotionally. He sank into the sofa at home, feeling utterly drained. Mercy joined him, placing a gentle hand on his shoulder, not comfortingly but possessively, a reminder that she controlled the pace, the narrative, the very air he breathed. You did well for a beginner, she said softly, almost mockingly. But remember, Benjamin, mastery comes only through repeated effort, and understanding only through mistakes. Benjamin exhaled shakily. Mercy, I don't know if I can keep up with this. I feel like I'm drowning. Her eyes softened slightly, but the smile never left her lips. Good. That's exactly the feeling I want you to understand. Betrayal isn't just about guilt. It's about consequences. It's about learning, whether you like it or not. The next few days passed in a blur of tension. Mercy's subtle manipulations extended into every aspect of Benjamin's life. His interactions with friends, family, and colleagues, his daily routines, even his moments of privacy. She orchestrated small tests, little games, moments of social embarrassment, and private revelations. Benjamin felt constantly on edge, unsure of what he had done wrong or when the next subtle sting would arrive. Yet, despite it all, Mercy never raised her voice, never lashed out openly. She smiled while she stirred, hummed softly while she watched, and allowed Benjamin to unravel slowly, piece by piece, under the weight of his own mistakes. One evening, as Benjamin sat at the dining table, exhausted, Mercy approached with a fresh bowl of stew. She placed it before him and stirred gently, her eyes meeting his. Benjamin, she said softly, do you understand now? He looked up, weary, hollow-eyed, and whispered, Understand what? Mercy's smile widened faintly, that every action has a reaction, every betrayal leaves a mark, and that the slow, careful stirring of consequences is far more powerful than anger alone. Benjamin nodded, feeling the full weight of her words. He knew deep down that this was only the beginning. Mercy's smile, calm and almost innocent, masked a mind sharper than he had ever imagined. And as she stirred, humming softly, Benjamin realized that his life had been forever changed. The storm had arrived, and he was trapped in the eye of it, helpless, exposed, and utterly at Mercy's mercy. The morning was unusually quiet. Birds chirped lazily outside, the sunlight spilled into the kitchen, and the house felt deceptively peaceful. Benjamin sat at the breakfast table, staring blankly at his cereal, hands trembling slightly. He knew better than to assume calm was real. It had been a trap every other time. Mercy moved through the kitchen like a shadow, quiet but deliberate. Her hands were steady as she stirred the pot of porridge, humming softly, her smile faint, serene, but her eyes gleamed with a sharp, calculated intelligence. "Good morning, Benjamin," she said casually, setting a steaming cup of tea in front of him. "Sleep well?" Benjamin's voice came out hoarse. "Not really, but Of course," Mercy interrupted, her tone smooth, almost playful. "It's difficult to rest when the mind is full of regret, but you must understand, regret is only the beginning." Benjamin swallowed, nodding mutely. I understand, Mercy." Her smile widened faintly as she leaned against the counter. "Do you? Or are you merely saying the words because you fear what comes next?" Benjamin didn't answer. He had no words that could satisfy her. Not today. Not ever. Mercy had already planned the next stage of her carefully orchestrated revenge. It wasn't enough to humiliate him in private. Benjamin needed to understand the consequences of his actions in public, where social perception and reputation weighed heavily. She suggested they attend a neighborhood gathering, a seemingly ordinary tea party hosted by one of their wealthy neighbors. On the surface, it was benign, but Mercy had arranged every detail, ensuring Benjamin would be tested, exposed, and subtly undermined without her ever raising her voice. The guests arrived, laughing, chatting, and exchanging pleasantries. Benjamin tried to maintain composure, but every glance from his wife was like a spark setting his nerves alight. "So, Benjamin," Mercy said casually, sipping her tea, "I heard you've been very busy lately. Meetings that go late into the night, deadlines that never existed. Isn't that right?" Benjamin's face burned crimson. He opened his mouth to answer, but Mercy continued before he could stumble over words. "And yet, somehow, all the chores at home still fall behind. Funny how that works, isn't it?" She smiled faintly at the guests, who exchanged amused looks. Benjamin's stomach churned. He felt the weight of every secret, every lie, pressing down on him. Mercy moved among the guests gracefully, her eyes always on him, stirring her tea slowly, humming softly. Each movement was a gentle reminder of the trap he had walked into, a trap he didn't even know he was inside. That evening, Benjamin returned home, exhausted. Mercy had planned another subtle twist. Private reflection. She invited him into the living room, dimly lit, with the faint scent of cinnamon and cloves lingering in the air. "Sit," she said softly, gesturing to the sofa. "We need to discuss the events of today." Benjamin obeyed, sitting stiffly, hands clasped together. "Mercy, please, I'll do better, I promise." Mercy smiled faintly, stirring her own tea in wide, hypnotic circles. "Promises are nice, Benjamin, but they don't undo the past. They don't erase the choices you've made, the betrayals you've committed." Benjamin felt a cold sweat break out across his forehead. I know I've made mistakes, Mercy, but I didn't mean to hurt you. I love you. You have to believe me." Her eyes glimmered with a dangerous patience. "Love," she said softly, "isn't about what you say. It's about what you do, and actions speak louder than words." Mercy decided it was time to escalate her revenge further. She assigned Benjamin an elaborate task, helping her organize an event for the local community center. It was meant to look simple, but she had hidden subtle challenges, pitfalls, and public-facing mistakes that Benjamin was bound to make. Every step he took was scrutinized. Every misplaced chair, every forgotten RSVP, every minor misstep became an opportunity for Mercy to subtly embarrass him, both in private and in public. And she did it all with the faintest smile, stirring tea, humming, or adjusting decorations as if she were entirely oblivious to the havoc she was orchestrating. Benjamin began to realize that his life had become a stage, and he was the unwitting actor in a play directed entirely by his wife. The days that followed were a relentless series of lessons. Benjamin's world shrank to the boundaries of the house and the few carefully controlled social interactions Mercy allowed. Every errand, every social visit, every moment of daily life became a test. Mercy introduced small ironic punishments, assigning Benjamin to complete tedious chores while she observed, commenting on his inefficiency. allowing friends to witness minor mistakes, followed by calm, teasing remarks that left him red-faced. Subtle reminders of past betrayals hidden in innocent-looking gestures, a misplaced book, a carefully left note, a seemingly casual reference to a forgotten promise. All the while, she never raised her voice, never screamed. Her smile remained calm, her stirring slow and deliberate, and her words light, almost melodic, but each one carried weight heavier than any shouted accusation. Thanks for watching. If this story moved you, give it a like and share it so others can learn from it too. Don't forget to subscribe for more powerful stories. See you in the next one.